LaSalle.
All boats sitting ready here. Looks like we're about to get started. For those of you at home, and they are off. And again, if you're noticing a theme at home, Temple, Drexel, St. Joe's, and LaSalle in the last race, here they are again, but they'll face some stiff competition in lane 4 from this Georgetown boat.
Yeah, you are right. And again, with this beautiful drone shot, we can actually see them make it through the first 100 meters, so we can actually watch the breakage points here. So that is the first 100 meters, again, where you can call an official if you have any breakage on your shell. That does not include seats. That includes riggers, the actual boat itself. So it looks like we have a clean start now. Again, we have this gorgeous drone shot. If you are watching from above, 6 boats across, all boats still connected. But of course, we are very early on into the race, so we will let this shake out just for a few strokes and see where we start to land at about 500 meters.
Yeah, early goings here. Looks like St. Joe's and Drexel with the good starts. Georgetown hanging there with them, as is our lane 6 boat there. That's the boat from LaSalle. So lanes 1 and 2, Fordham and Temple, just a little bit off at the start, but not anything to worry about here in the early goings. But again, 500-meter buoy line already upon us here. A quick race.
And you know what? You made a really good point here that some of these crews may be just a teeny bit behind off the start, and some crews will actually choose to be a little bit more conservative in wind coming off of a course or off of a stake boat, just to make sure that they get off of that stake boat very cleanly. So that could have been an artistic choice, as we say. And that does not necessarily mean that that is going to be the result or the placement of the race in the end. They could have just been a little bit more careful getting off the blocks cleanly. So here we are seeing quite a race shaping up again. So even some of those crews that were a teeny bit behind at the start, maybe a little bit more conservative, a little bit more careful, starting to kind of find their way into the pack.
Well, you know, I think it's a saying that holds true in a lot of sports, actually, but in rowing as well, I like to say that, you know, you can't win the race in the first 500 meters, but you can lose it. So here we go. We'll see if that start 500 meters plays a factor here going forward. It looks like Drexel and Georgetown had started to separate themselves a little bit. St. Joe's actually maintaining and maybe even having a seat lead here on Georgetown. But let's call it Drexel, St. Joe's, Georgetown, LaSalle, and then Temple and Fordham about even there in 5th place.
Yeah, we almost have 3 mini races happening in between this one race here. So we definitely have Drexel and St. Joe's in lanes 3 and 5 making quite a push bow ball to bow ball. I'm still going to give the advantage to Drexel as they start to push away perhaps by a bow deck or so. But St. Joe's is definitely breathing down their neck here. And then we go to the middle, just like you said. That is Temple and Georgetown in lanes 2 and 4 shaping up just behind them. But again, only just, because all of these boats are still connected in the fight. And then we look to the outsides at Fordham and LaSalle.
And again, this is why people love rowing, 8 competitions. They're fast and they're close, and they make for great drama. And as we come through the second 500 here, again, it is Drexel and St. Joe's. 1,000 meters left to go now for our leaders. We'll see if Georgetown can do anything to get back into the top 2 positions. Right now, sitting pretty firmly in 3rd.
Yeah, that's right. I have the Drexel Dragons rowing at about a 35-36 again, and had the privilege of speaking to their coach and said that this crew in particular was such a special crew. They have really created such a culture at their boathouse this year that is so selfless and so team-oriented that they are really out here not just rowing for themselves, but rowing for each other. And so the culture and the chemistry here in this Drexel boat is really starting to show here because, again, as we've said before, that is sometimes the X factor. You can row beautifully, you can row at a high rate, but if you do not have the chemistry, if you do not have that X factor, it is very, very difficult to win a race, let alone win the gold.
Nice move here in the first half of this third 500 by Georgetown. They've pulled just about even now with St. Joe's, maybe give the edge to St. Joe's by a bow ball, but not anymore. There's Georgetown bow ball over St. Joe's. They are just 1 or 2 seats behind this Drexel boat now. We'll see if St. Joe's can respond into this final 500. But again, Drexel still maintaining just a few seats lead over our second place Georgetown.
Yeah, that's right. It is definitely Drexel's race to lose here, but look at Georgetown, who is really making a push, and then St. Joe's also trying to get in the mix, who has brought their rate up just a little bit as we speak. So I am looking at St. Joe's right now, getting some numbers for you, because they are absolutely bringing up the rate here to try to get in the mix again, just to make a little push to see if they can get ahead of Drexel. And Drexel's still hanging on, but watch out for Georgetown here in the middle.
Yeah, I think it's just about dead even now between Georgetown and Drexel based on that angle we had from the drone there. 500 meters left to go in the women's varsity 8. Again, we are competing for the Evelyn Bergman Trophy here. This is another event that Drexel has performed exceedingly well at over the last few years, and they're trying to keep that going here.
That's right. It's Drexel's race to lose for sure. And here they are crawling back just a little bit. And I think they know it here because this is a crew that is pushing. This is about who is willing to hurt more at this point because it is Drexel, Georgetown, and St. Joe's. And neither crew is really willing to give up this fight yet. But keep an eye on Drexel. I don't know. This could come down to who is at the catch and who is at the finish.
I think Drexel has the speed here as we approach about 300 meters left to go now. Drexel with a little bit more speed than the other two boats. Georgetown caught them there as they went into the final 500. But now as this last fourth of the race progresses, Drexel held on to something, it seems. 250 meters left to go, and Drexel pushing away from Georgetown and St. Joe's into the end of this race.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we are nearly going stroke for stroke at about a 43 here. It is Drexel and Georgetown who is really making a push, and I still think Drexel has the advantage here, but not by much. Georgetown is really not willing to give this up without a fight.
Yeah, we should see the finish line appearing momentarily here. Our camera will pan to the left here, and I think it is Georgetown. Georgetown by 3 or 4 seats over or rather Drexel with 3 or 4 seats over Georgetown. Georgetown with 3 or 4 seats over the St. Joe's boat. You can see here. We pan to the left, and Georgetown with a nice finish here, but it's not enough.
The Drexel Dragons have absolutely done it, and those women must be so incredibly proud, followed by Georgetown, St. Joe's, LaSalle, and then we will look to lane 2, Temple, and then Fordham in lane 1.
Look at that finish. I was about to say it looked like about a second between each boat there. It was less than that. It was about, yeah, you can see there about 0.6 of a second from Drexel to Georgetown, and then Georgetown with about 0.8 of a second there.